Why do we have food labels? Let's think about this. What is this? Just think about this. What do you think this is? Well, it looks to me like a candy bar. What do we want to know about it? Well, we'd like to know what's inside. That looks like chocolate on the outside. We'd like to know if it has nuts, in case we have a nut allergy. We'd like to know if it has sweetener, in case we're diabetic. We'd like to know the types of sugars or sweeteners that are used inside of it. We might want to know how many calories it has. We might want to know other properties of it. But looking at this, we think, at least, until I turn the slide, that it's just a chocolate bar. Well, actually, it's not. It's not a Milky Way, a Snickers bar, or anything similar to that. In fact, it's a chewy dip produced by Quaker Oats. And if you look at here, so we thought that might have been a chocolate bar. Turns out it's something different. In fact, you don't even buy this in the candy aisle in the store. And so we need to have a label telling us what it is we're buying. Because just because we look at something, it may not be what we think it is. The Codex Alimentarius is a way for food scientists to talk with each other about labels. And this is called the Food Code. This was set up by the FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, and we've done several things with Codex Alimentarius. For example, on the food labels, in terms of caloric replacement and the nutrient information, the order in which ingredients are listed on the label is due to the Codex. So the ingredient with the highest percentage, so if this product has the highest percent of sugar, sugar is listed first. So the order in which the ingredients are listed is related to the highest percentage to the lowest percentage of the ingredients. The Codex also helps us define what is on the label. And so things like best used by dates are part of the Codex. We chose to use expiration dates, if you will, instead of birth dates on foods. We could have said this food is produced on this date. The Codex says, no, let's look at a best used by date. Companies can voluntarily put a birth date on their food, but the Codex says we need to have something that says it's a best used by date, and that best used by date is when the quality begins to deteriorate. You can still eat most foods after that date, just we're seeing the quality inside the food begin to deteriorate a little bit. So here's an example of cheddar cheese. So as we think about what cheddar cheese is, here's the different standards for cheddar cheese. And so cheddar is a ripened hard cheese, and here's the ingredient for cheddar cheese. It can be yellow, it can be white, it can be some variation of those. Over time, the Codex evolved from a science and food safety prospect to more and more communicating consumer information. So when it was first set up in the early 1960s, we were communicating to consumers what food safety was and what scientists said. And so food companies wanted science and food safety things designed to go on these food labels. Then in the mid-1990s, we started seeing a push by consumers for things like organic or halal. And so the Codex became something broader than just science and food safety, but moved into providing consumers with additional types of information. Thinking about what a food label is, so typically here's an example of Lucky Charms. We have a best used by date. We have a gluten-free claim. We have a whole grain claim. Daily values, a percentage of these daily values as recommended on a 2,000 calorie diet. We have the ingredient list in the order of which the ingredients appear from their most percentage-wise. The list of nutrients, calories, and a serving size. Some current issues in food labeling is, if you look at the U.S. Department of Agriculture and look at some data they're looking at, we are seeing more increasing numbers of health and nutrition claims going on to food and beverage products. So food claims like made with real honey, made with real fruit, whole oats, whole grains, 100% natural, fat-free. The types of foods with these label claims have been going up dramatically in the last 10 years. We're in the process right now, rolling out to the year 2020, trying to develop a smart label with a QR code that participating food companies will use to provide all of these different ingredients to consumers who want to scan that with their phone, and it will tell them this information. Let's think about a new product. Let's say we're going to design a new breakfast cereal. Let's say, do we want it to be gluten-free? Do we want it made out of have a cinnamon puff? Do we want no artificial colors or sweeteners? Do we want it not have corn syrup? Do we want to have it be whole grains? Do we want it to be USDA organic? And we want to sell it in natural and organic stores and mass retailers. What label claims do we want to use? Are there certain label claims we have to have? What type of consumer are we trying to please? So as we think about these type of things, all of these labels, many of these label things up here are what consumers might want, but they're not required by the Codex Alimentarius. And so as the market research is done to develop this particular type of cereal, designed to sell within a chain captain, say a Whole Foods store, for example, how do we design this, taking into account that we have to have the Codex label claims? What other things do we want to use? So if we don't use high fructose corn syrup, will we use something like stevia, a non-caloric sweetener? Or are we going to use cane sugar? If we're not going to use artificial colors and flavors, are we going to use something from red beet dye in the case of a red dye? Whole grains, where are the whole grains going to come from? Are we going to use hard white wheat varieties, for example? So all these things to think about when you create a new breakfast cereal product. And as we go back to our discussion on value chains and supply chains, we have to devise a whole system to get us, especially if it's going to be organic, the entire process of getting that wheat variety, for example, into something called USDA Organic requires the whole collaboration of all those individuals in that supply chain or in that value chain.